Reconvene the Ayer Board of Selectmen for Tuesday, April 17th, 2018. We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know. Days.
Bigger table. I hated that big table. There's extensions we can put in.
Star Trek table. Sorry, I was going to pull up
All
my...
I did was make it wider.
Do we have any amendments to the agenda, Robert?
No, Mr. Chairman.
You guys have anything?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Janice, you want to do the warrant?
Yep.
Can I call Finance Committee to order real quick?
Absolutely.
Please. Call us to order at 7:04 p.m. on Tuesday, April 17th.
All right, now on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I signed the following warrants on April 10th, 2018. The payroll warrant, 18-20, in the amount of $291,727.47. And tonight, on April 17th, accounts payable, 18-19, in the amount of $354,959.46.
Thank you. One quick announcement. This is for the Keep Air Beautiful, whatever they call it. Join your friends and neighbors on Saturday, April 28th and Sunday, April 29th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. to keep air in the rail trail beautiful. In addition to town streets, parks, and other areas, we will include designated cleanup spots along the Nashua River Rail Trail. Reserve your cleanup spots ahead of time or just stop by Depot Square to register or to pick up bags and gloves. Students will receive community service hours for volunteering. We also welcome scout groups, house of worship, local businesses to get involved. More information is on the town's website, and people can do this whenever they want, but it's between 9 and 1. I usually just grab a bag and do my neighborhood and then bring it down, but it's a good program. I actually wish the times were a little longer, but...
You have a neighborhood? You have a neighborhood?
Yeah, I have a neighborhood. Not my little road, the whole street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anybody here for public input? Perfect. Alicia?
Already?
Thanks.
Hi, Alicia. It's been a while.
I know.
We thought you were avoiding us.
Oh, never. So, once again, I have a subordination. It's pretty straightforward. If the person was at 80% or under in loan-to-value ratio, we would just approve it, and they're at 83%. Did you have any questions on this one?
Again, it's just the usual site there, refinancing second lien holder.
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm not even sure why we have to approve these sometimes. Just like seeing you, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you know, we should, if there was something that I, was uncomfortable about, but
Sure.
the person has only 5 years left on their loan with us, and they're in good standing, they're just refinancing to get their PMI off, so.
Sure. And just a quick question, Lisa, I never asked this. Do we have we collect, these loans are typically always paid back, right?
Well, we usually get one or two, because we have a lot of elderly, so we'll have one or two that goes to an estate.
Sure.
And we'll get 5 years back on it or something like that, and that's the programming.
Yep.
But everything else, we're at the point where, because we started these loans at the beginning of, in 2002, 2003, so you've been signing ones that have been completed, and I've been sending those back. So we have about, trying to think, I don't know off the top of my head, someplace between 90 and 100 loans out there in town.
Well,
So we service 90 to 100 loans, but there's no servicing because we don't really, but I get people calling to see what they still owe and that sort
Sure.
of thing, as they make plans.
okay.
Okay?
Gary?
Make a motion to approve lien subordination request, case number 06-316E, in an amount, lien for the first mortgage not to exceed the amount $208,100.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Alicia.
I'm going to leave it with Carly, and
Okay, yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
sign it
Thank
tonight.
you.
Good evening.
Take
You
care,
too.
Alicia, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Nice to see you. Robert, do you want
Sure.
to
Mr.
introduce our
Chairman,
joint meeting with the FinCom? And Lisa? Hi, Lisa.
good evening. So we thought, as far as for this evening's joint meeting, with respect to the review and approval of the budget for town meeting, and a review and approval of the warrant for town meeting, we would start with the budget. Ms. Cabri, as we've done at these forums in the past, has a brief presentation overview on the budget. And then we thought we would go through the omnibus, sort of like we do at town meeting, and if people want to speak to certain items, say pass, or, I mean, it can be relatively informal, but we want to get all of the input and so forth on the budget. One of the things pertaining to the budget that needs to be discussed is the issue of the cost of living adjustment, so we can talk about that after the budget overview. And then when we get to the warrant, we'll do the same thing, is go through the warrant, not in ones that people have questions or want to speak to, we'll ask you to say pass, and we'll come back. Some of them are probably pretty straightforward, so in the interest of time, we want to maximize, obviously, the discussion and the questions that folks have with respect to that. And if I could just say, Mr. Chairman and members of the board and the committee, with respect to the FY19 budget that we're going to discuss, I believe that the budget is a strong and proactive budget. You will see that the overall budget before the school assessments has an increase of 5.6%, but you'll also see ever since regionalization over the last 5 budget cycles, the average increase has been about 5%. I think that is something we need to obviously continue to look at and continue to discuss. I am pleased to report that over $697,000 is still planned to go into stabilization. There's over $1.5 million in capital infrastructure improvement going before the town, keeping with the commitment to not only upgrading and updating our infrastructure, but having a responsible plan to it. Our OPEB liability will be met again. The outstanding UDAG funds that are remaining, the $200,000, are scheduled to be replaced. There's $174,000 in insurance savings, which is no small savings, and I would be remiss, I know I've said it before, to thank my assistant, Ms. Antonellis, who had the proactive foresight on that and did all of the work with that. These insurance savings, I can assure the boards, we are actually getting an improved insurance product, but at increased savings. We had some unique challenges this year. Specifically, the police and dispatch contracts were up, which are usually always challenging. It went relatively well. The regionalization of dispatch, which the town of Ayer stepped up to address Shirley's shortfall on that, came in right before January, and we were successful in that regionalization. The Section 21 health insurance changes, which translated into about a $20,000 impact to the budget. The government reorganization implementation and the contamination of the Grove Pond well by PFAS contaminants were all things, the majority of these all came to the forefront of the town just in January, a few months ago.
And that last one's a big one.
And if you look in the budget, $314,000 approximately are personnel costs that are increased there. I would just point out that 57,000 of those are from regional dispatch. As we found out, the regional grant will not cover fringe benefits such as shift differentials, clothing allowance, and so forth. It's just the nature of the grant. So there are those unique costs. There's a $25,000 increase to the Council on Aging's budget that has to do with the MART transportation contract. Unfortunately, MART, that historically covered all of those costs, are not going to cover all of those costs moving forward. There's not been a lack of trying from my office as well as my colleagues on the advisory board to try to get that restored, but there's another increase there. There are 2 reclassifications of the police lieutenant and the assistant town manager. There's the police and dispatch contracts. There's contractual increases on those 2 contracts in terms of wages is 2%. But you will see for the police contract, it's more like a 4% increase in the first year. But that additional 2% is largely educational incentives, which we do value. There's also a one-time, there's a $15,000 contractual adjustment as well this year for the clerical town hall union. Those positions have not been looked at since 2009, and this proposal puts in a grade and step system for that. That was the terms of a contract negotiated last year. And just to conclude, I think moving forward, some of the challenges that we have as a town, I think we can definitely, and I'm committed to improving and codifying our budget schedule moving forward. We have the increased challenges of health insurance, challenges pertaining to new growth. As everybody is aware, the town of Ayer is rapidly approaching a build-out, which will pose new challenges in terms of new growth. And there are overall uncertainties, as there always are, with the federal, state, and regional economy. There's also the future of the elementary school and the fields. And lastly, I think something, at least in the 8 years I've been here, we continue to try to address is in how do we improve or increase our public outreach, our public education, and our public participation in local government. So from the town administrator, that's just sort of the 50,000-foot overview going into the budget. And Mr. Chairman, with that, I'll ask Ms. Cabri to go over the budget building blocks, and then we'll get into it. Thank you.
Are you doing this on the big screen behind me?
Yes.
Should have one of that.
I may have to sit in your lap, but just so you know.
It's okay. Cozy
Put it in the
before.
budget for one. For that.
Will you be presenting this at town meeting?
Yes, I took it.
Did you get
Well, I don't
permission?
know.
Did you get permission?
I'll go this way.
You gotta have permission. Make sure you get permission.
Yeah, we can discuss that later.
All right, so we're just showing these 2 slides here to just show that we have a balanced budget. So our total revenues.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So you see the total revenues that are projected at a little over $28 million, and total expenses and savings are the same, a little over $28,000. There's about $45,000 left that we haven't decided what to do yet. We sort of held out there in case there were some other financial warrant articles or whatnot, but we can either increase the unused levy capacity, add it to stabilization funding, or just let it close out, and it will close to theoretically free cash. All right, so the big thing is that we're using, of the free cash there, $1,079,000. The town is using $1,069,000 to replenish the UDAG for $200,000, invest in our savings account of $697,000, and invest in our future liability of $300,000. So those are all wise decisions and ways to, maybe not the UDAG replenishment, but the other ones are wise decisions on how to use free cash.
And if I may, just, Mr. Chairman, just for everybody's benefit, including the public, the $200,000 on the UDAG was voted by the Ayer Board of Selectmen this past fall. Was required funding for the town radio project, just so everybody is aware what that was for.
There's a timing issue involved, otherwise it would have went through this normal capital process. So I'm just going to run through a couple of slides of the revenues so you just break it down. State aid, this is the House budget. It's increased about $12,000. Taxes, about $260,000. Basically, that's 2.5%, but it's also debt exclusions, and we passed some new ones last year, so we'll break that down in another slide. See that the local receipts have gone up $124,000. 100 of that is the Shirley assessment for the regional dispatch. So the offset to the expenses you see, such as the and wages later, dispatch wages of $57,000, and also there's another $42,000 added to health insurance, washes against the $100,000. So in theory, it should be a wash, and I will be watching that closely. costs closely, because it should not cost their taxpayers anything. The other revenues is overlay surplus. The assessors, once again, released some of the surplus that they held aside for abatements and so forth, that's for prior years. The enterprise impact, capital stabilization, when I first say, these are various little projects that were under $35,000, I believe, that the capital planning committee recommended and the selectmen voted to pay out of capital stabilization, as they did in previous
Yeah,
years.
basically, I think it was pretty much pat everything under 35 in that range,
Yeah.
Mary.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
And
decided
then the enterprise impact, well, there are benefits that are budgeted in the omnibus, such as health insurance, that's the big one, that are, the enterprise fund contributes to through their indirect costs. So this is the impact of the enterprise fund. So we have total revenues that are increasing $772,000. Charges are decreasing, and 2 reasons. We had a much bigger snow and ice deficit last year, and we had a pig farm emergency cleanup last year. So those 2 things alone were over $300,000.
Was that just last year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
last December.
because of that and the increase in the revenues, we have $1 million more available for appropriation. This is a breakdown of the taxes. So we start with our base from the previous year, and that, it wouldn't match necessarily the 18 recap, because we have to add back in the unused levy capacity. So you start with the taxes, you add back in the levy capacity, you add in 2.5%, which is Prop 2.5, and then new growth, which is an estimate given to us by the assessors. And Robert did mention new growth and how it can be very up and down, not predictable. The $960,000 last year was unusually high. So we're back to 350,000, which is more than norm. We are getting closer to build out in this town. It's only 7 square miles wide, and it will come. So therefore, we're trying to build up our unused levy capacity, which is also a wise thing to do. So this last year was 1.6 million. This year's 2.1 million. And then we had some. See the 261,000 in new debt exclusion overrides last year, the 261,000. Those are the 4 items that we passed last year: the Parks Building, the DPW Operations Center, the West Main Street Bridge, and the Highway Garage. That's the estimated debt on that for FY18. It's rolled up into the $877,000 number now. So I just didn't have time to segregate it, but it's not new anymore. So it's part of the $877,000. So some must have been paid off. And then the school, the debt on high school. So it brings us roughly $200,000 more in levy capacity. If I get one more slide. Oh, the charges again. I'm just showing you that the snow and ice deficit was $144,000 last year, and I'm estimating $50,000. I know it's been a long winter, but it's mostly been cold and not a lot of snow removal. And
Were
then
you
the
here
emergency
in March?
spending- Excuse me?
Were you here in March?
We had the 19 inches in one day.
Funny, my yard just cleared today.
Yeah.
Apparently not as much as we had last year.
Yeah.
Emergency spending for the farm cleanup, $201,000. So we have fewer charges this year, which is a good thing.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just for everybody's benefit, on the emergency spending cleanup, once that property is sold, when that happens, the town is first in the order to get all of its money back per the court. So we remain optimistic in this year that that will happen.
That's the end of my overview before we get into the omnibus and the warrant and stuff. So this part here just reflects what's in the warrant itself. So it's just on the big screen so people can see it and the audience can see it in bigger print. So when we start discussing that, I don't know if anyone has any questions about what I already talked about though.
Feel free to ask. It's too many people to raise your hand. If there's any questions. It's not. I'm just thinking the same thing.
That must be a draft.
It is.
That's why I think you should use
So
mine, Carly.
that's the same as that's
For
in
them.
the handout that you all have, the last pages
Oh, can you get the table?
on the warrant.
Mark, your budget's been zeroed out, so don't worry about it.
So
Yeah,
this
we
is
can,
it?
we can come
Yeah.
back, right?
It
You're gonna,
doesn't have the explanation.
Yeah,
so
it's- that's
we
too
we can talk.
do we all gonna look at that, or can we look at
Well,
the?
it's in our pads and you got the
Yeah,
handout.
it's just getting a little comfortable. Breaking my neck. It's new.
Mr. Chairman, what is your pleasure? Do you want to do the budget now or go to the warrant? and
I
come
think
back to
we usually do the
budget?
budget first. I'm trying to remember, I was just thinking.
Yeah, I think we usually do the budget first.
Yeah,
and then
let's do the budget
circle back
first and then
through
roll
all the warrants.
Because the warrant,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
If I may?
absolutely.
So I want to kind of speak up on behalf of the Finance Committee, because over looking at the budget itself, as Robert said, it's a 5.6% increase over last year. That 5% increase also includes $175,000 in savings on insurance, which if you strip that out, it's a 6.8% increase over last year. The concern of the committee is the wage increases that we are seeing in the budget this year. And some of them, there's the 4.5% cost on the police contract, and the other one is one of the personal service contracts, which was amounted to approximately a 7% increase over last year. We've had the discussion over the years regarding operations versus finance when it comes to the selectmen and administration versus the finance committee. And this year, I'll be honest, it kind of feels like we just kind of had this large increase of a budget handed to us. And I feel like from the committee perspective, we're in a catch-22 because we have contractual increases in the budget that are well above what we have shot for growth, to limit growth, because we're trying to stay within the tax levy, and we're also trying to keep it within people's personal income increases too. But it just feels like the contractual increases kind of binds our hands, because if we were to reduce the budget, then where it's a bottom line budget for each department, if we cut the budgets and reserve fund transfer is required next year, because we consciously cut the budget, then it wouldn't qualify for reserve fund transfer. So from a committee perspective, I feel like we really don't have much that we can do to try and do our job by trying to pare back the finances. However, the other part of our job is providing information to town meeting to make educated decisions. And I guess I'll ask a quick question. What are we getting for our 5.6% increase? What are the taxpayers getting for that? Because we've been kind of at the end of the process here through this cycle.
Do you want, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, go ahead first.
So, what are the taxpayers getting for the 5.6% increase? And I touched upon some of those in my overview. There are $314,000 approximately in personnel cost increases. As I mentioned, $57,000 of that is regional dispatch costs, which on July 1st will be reimbursed $100,000 towards that from Shirley. The taxpayers, in terms of the regional dispatch, which was no small undertaking, I want to reiterate that if we did not regionalize the dispatch, everything we've been told, and Chief Murray and Chief Pedrazi can speak to this, the state wants all dispatchers in a regional situation. So if we didn't regionalize with Shirley in this instance, we would be required to join Devon's or some other entity. And one of the concerns we've heard loud and clear is that the residents of Ayer want their own dispatch and their own people, and we have a top-notch dispatch. So that's one of the costs. The other cost I mentioned is a $25,000 increase, again, on the COA towards MART. Nobody's happy about that $25,000 increase, but MART is changing its contract, and that affects all of the towns covered by MART, so we're not alone on this. That increase, the COA provides van transportation to our seniors that need it, to the hospital, to other errands and so forth. So again, what our the taxpayer is getting, again, is to continue that service. Both the police and dispatch contracts, if you look at the dispatch contracts, you'll see that the increases for all 3 years are 2%. The patrol one, as I mentioned, the first year has a 4% increase, but yet the total, the wage is 2%, and there's another 2.2% in education incentives. And we dealt with, first of all, officers wouldn't receive these incentives unless they get the education. But it was our feeling, when I say ours, the chiefs, myself, that when you invest in education in employees, you get a better employee. There are 2 reclassifications for 2 positions, as I mentioned. One of them, which is the considerable increase in the selectmen's, is part of the government reorganization in the sense that the position of assistant to the town administrator has evolved to being an assistant town manager position. What are the residents getting in terms of that, taking the individual out of it? The town manager needs a qualified assistant that has the education and the expertise to perform the job. The incumbent, Ms. Antonellis, in addition to, before she came to Ayer, had close to 14 years of state and local experience, also has a master's degree in public administration from UMass Boston. Her skill set and expertise has been invaluable, not only to me and to the Board of Selectmen, but to the town as a whole. And I would say that she single-handedly, as Mr. Hood mentioned, was responsible for the $174,000 savings in terms of insurance. So when people ask what are the taxpayers getting, if we don't have a competitive salary to attract and retain employees like Ms. Antonellis, then things such as those savings may not happen. Another example is the contractual increase on one of the contracts is the fire chief's contract is increasing 7%. I believe that's the one that was mentioned. However, the fire chief, in addition to his duties as the fire chief, is also the emergency management director for the town. Chief Pedrazi conservatively every year brings in his department hundreds of thousands of grant dollars for the department. Again, remaining competitive to attract and retain these employees, these are the costs to do that. And I would argue, and be happy if people are interested, all of these salary decisions are not just pulled out of a cloud, as everyone can appreciate. They're based on comparative data and well thought out. And we still find that Ayer overall, if you look at peer groups on any position, are still within the median amount. The positions is a $15,000 increase, which was a contractual agreement, as I mentioned, with the non-union clerical, the clerical town hall union folks, a $15,000 adjustment. All of those positions, which had no compensation grid, so there was no system, since 2009, so almost 10 years, have remained relatively flat. The study that was done for that was a third-party independent study done by the Collins Center for Public Policy Research out of UMass Boston that looked at that. So the $314,000 in these increases, first of all, I don't say that's lightly, that's the lion's share of it, and I understand that. However, in terms of when the question is asked, what are the taxpayers getting? And Mr. Chair, you've said this many times, that the budget is a value statement to the community. We value and invest in our personnel because, as we always have discussed, we're also largely a service industry. The lion's share of all of our costs, and not just us, in any town, is always the personnel costs. So that investment in our workforce, I would contend, translates into all of the progress that we continue to make. And to just conclude, and I agree with Mr. Hood 100% about the concerns of the trends of 5% over the last, on average, over the last 5 years. It's definitely something we need to look at. As I mentioned earlier, this was a challenging year, and there were some unique challenges in that sense in the personnel realm of things. But at the end of the day, with that increase, the town of Ayer maintains a full-service, professional fire department that has advanced medical emergency ambulances. We have a full-time professional police, and now we're going to be the regional dispatch. Our DPW, the DPW superintendent, the town engineer, and his entire team, we have a professional wastewater and water system.
A fully staffed police department too, for the first
And
time.
as I mentioned, the budget,
in a long time.
as folks will see when they come to town meeting, there's over $1.5 million in infrastructure improvements that they will be getting. And we're doing all of this and still putting $697,000 into stabilization. We're still meeting our OPEB liability, and we're replenishing the UDAG funds, so that's completely solvent. And lastly, we're doing that with almost $2 million in excess overlay capacity still remaining and one of the best bond ratings. So I do not want to diminish the fact that everybody is very sensitive and concerned to these increases. And I agree with Mr. Hood that we need to do, I think, in terms of the budget schedule, as we've discussed, a better job in the schedule and codifying that schedule across the year. So there are always going to be, it's the nature of municipal government, some last minute things, but I think we can do a better job to mitigate that with the schedule. And I welcome everybody's thoughts, because it's something since I've been here, is how do we increase getting the information to people and making sure that not only the taxpayers are informed, but they also can participate in the process. Because I think we've all witnessed at the last few town meetings, I'm not speaking for myself, but significant articles are moved and seconded, and there's no discussion, and they pass. So there's a couple answers. One is the microphone on? I wondered that the first time. The second is, do people not understand it or are concerned? And it's human nature. If you don't understand something, you don't ask a question. Or is it third, that people are satisfied? I don't know. I don't have the definitive answer. But I will maintain, and I appreciate the time. I look forward to town meeting, because I think that the residents, businesses, and the whole community of Ayer are getting a lot for their budget and the warrant. But concerns absolutely on the process, information, involvement, and how do we get this budget, ideally down from 5%. And I remain committed to that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any frills in it at all. We've added a planner. Now, we've had increases at both schools in cost. We've had the 2 contracts this year, union contracts, which we don't usually have. We've had 3 department head contracts, 4 department head contracts this year. So I think it'll cycle out, but I don't think, I think we did a good job with it as far as where the money was going.
I agree. What was the increase in healthcare? Sorry to interrupt. Again?
Small.
When we had feared for 17%, the overall number
It's like
20
11,
grand or something.
was about, just under 12%.
Okay.
and that
And-
was also the dispatcher got, like, the
Right.
benefits for
And
dispatchers.
that also
increased that.
includes the Section 21 mitigation, which those costs, so everybody's aware
Right.
about, you have to give back the savings. Some of the savings is about 20,000, that's going back to the employees.
Mhm.
So I do just want to say, it's
I get you.
nothing against the personnel themselves. It's
Understood.
nothing
No,
against
right,
Chief
understood.
Pedrazi, Ms.
Yep.
Antonellis, I want to stress that. But it is just that trend, and I think 2 years ago after town meeting, you and I had a conversation about really needing to start pumping the brakes on the increases that we were seeing.
Yes.
I understand it was a difficult year, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask the question.
Absolutely.
I have no problem with you asking the question. I mean, you should. That's why the FinCom's there.
I think Pat's gonna have.
Yep, I know. Go ahead, Pat, sorry.
First of all, I'd like to acknowledge that I believe we have an absolutely top-notch town and personnel organization that keeps it running smoothly and efficiently, well-defined, and within the constraints that it has, and I want to make that completely clear. One thing I would postulate is that we continue to go back to the fact that we're not at our levy capacity. And somehow that almost seems as though it's an artificial cushion to some of the approaches that are taken. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. What I would like to suggest is that sometime during FY19, we consider putting together a committee of concerned people to look at how do we manage budgetary increases when we achieve 100% capacity, because we will. It will happen. And at that point, the 5% is going to become a bigger problem than it is today. We can afford it now because we have this bump.
We've been there, not that, the year
But-
we had no free cash in 2012. I
It
mean,
just seems
we've
like-
done it.
It seems like it would be a worthwhile, if nothing else, just to look at it, maybe project it out in the future, and say, okay, at FY 21 or 22 or whatever, we may find ourselves in a different position financially. What do we do then? How do we manage it?
I mean, Gary, I know Gary, myself, I think Chris, you're in at the tail end of, coming out of the recession when, the budgets, and Robert, this was at the time when you joined, I mean, the budgets were painful just to
No
try
free
and pull
cash.
together.
Yeah.
So, it's a good problem to have. I guess my comment on the unused levy capacity is, when we look at the revenues that we're estimating for the next year, we don't always have to build out to spend it, because what we build on the budget sets our tax rate at the end of the year. It's kind of what you would think could kind of be a backwards process when you actually look at it. So if we set a higher budget in spring, spend more money at the fall town meeting, December is when those two actions build our tax rate. So when people are kind of looking at, hey, why are my taxes going up? Well, you have two events that happened before which drive that.
Right.
So if we can strive to kind of build a little more conservatism financially, because we have the ability to, now I think, may have a better impact on the tax bill.
I think the fact that we have the latitude to do it now, it makes sense to me to begin the process of review and analyze and project.
Yeah.
There's nothing that would prevent a committee of select citizens, us and others, right? Not some small group that says, okay, when we get to this point, what do we do? How do we manage this and be able to continue the quality of life that the town of Ayer has become accustomed to? And frankly, as a citizen, I'd like it to stay. But it just seems that if we don't think about it and we don't plan it ahead, that when we hit the wall, the blood spot that's on the wall is from our forehead, not from the wall.
Well, having said that, we get that.
One word, weed.
We get that.
Exactly.
We get that every tax season too. How are we gonna keep taxes down for the businesses? The usual. We're killing them. There was no residents, I believe, at all.
No, it was just
Besides,
businessmen.
besides Mary and Ruth in the room.
As Scott mentioned, and we've talked about this, and this is going to that public outreach and so forth, is also people being aware that various decisions, as Scott mentioned, that are done at town meeting affect that rate, and
Of course.
and it's sort of a backwards cycle, if you will, and I don't think, this is just my opinion, that a lot of folks still fully understand that when we're at the tax hearing in November, a lot of the decisions that have impacted that have already happened, so it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Even though that was my presentation, I think last year,
Yes,
or the year
see,
before.
I took detailed notes.
I don't want to spend too much long on the overall
Yeah,
process.
go
We
ahead.
can go through that. I guess we can have a conversation afterwards. But I know that one of the things Robert and I had a conversation around this on Friday on the phone, and one of the things that I mentioned, which I think is important, is we think we need to draw the line in the sand on budget changes almost a month before go to print, because we need to be able to publicize it and put it on the town website and let the people digest it a little bit more before the final decisions are made.
Yeah,
Trust me, I would love that.
I have no problem with
I would
transparency.
too.
I
I
mean,
mean,
we-
up to the minute
And
change.
members of
Yeah.
the all boards, to Scott's point on that, I think one of the things, for example, is, so town meeting is, and I agree, I think when I said about structuring and
Yeah.
codifying the schedule for FY19, we can build that in, and we should. But also, so town meeting's on the 14th, we're looking obviously for the board to approve the warrant tonight and so forth. We actually have till noon on Friday before it has to go to print. And the reason I said it to print them and to mail all of them, they go to every household. If we didn't have, there may be some other ways to look at, not tonight, that we could also gain some more time between, it's almost a month between it going to print and town meeting. We'd be open to some suggestions on that, but agreed.
And I like Pat's idea about getting some kind of a, maybe for like a 3 to 5 year look, because I don't know if we have estimates of when we'll be at close to build out.
I'm sure Lisa
I'm sure
can give
it's-
us some
Could be
projections.
next week at the rate we're
Okay,
going.
the assessors.
Yeah, we have
So-
some data, but I agree and get the assessors involved.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right.
Excellent point.
Thank you very much.
I just want to point out too that, we've made an investment too in OPEB and stabilization. Close to probably $1 million a year between the two. So, I mean, that's a big driver.
Yeah, it is.
But it puts us in a position now for when, in a couple of years comes, hopefully not, but that may have to be reduced a bit.
Yep.
Just to make up for the budget side. But still, we still need to, keep our eye on the benefit part of it, and the healthcare's been great. I mean,
Knock on Formica.
It's been
for
so much.
5 years, it's been good.
Hmm.
So,
I'm sure that's coming to an end.
Anyway.
All right,
Hey, let's go to the budget.
let's go to the budget.
Did we just do that?
So do you want me to just, I'll read the lines, and if somebody just says pass, if they have either a comment or a question?
Yeah, I think that will work.
So it's Department 100, Selectmen, Town Council, Town Clerk.
Think that's enough, town council?
So you have a pass on Town
It
Council.
won't be enough, I'm sure.
Town Clerk, Moderator,
Thanks.
parking tickets, public buildings, registrations and elections, postage, American Legion Memorial Day, July 4th celebration, holiday lights, TADS, which stands for the Teenage Anxiety Depression Solutions, thank you. Personnel Board, that's Department 100. So there was a pass on Town Council.
Yeah.
Go back, so Town Council was I'm recommending 130,000, was 120,000 last year. That is an increase of $10,000.
What if didn't we have reserve fund transfer?
We did have a reserve
did.
fund transfer in the amount of $71,000. I will add that with the lawsuit pending with the eminent domain, this year was, as I mentioned when I was before the FinCom, a challenging year. Almost all of those costs had to do with the Worthingdale versus Town of Ayer. As we move forward in FY19, I'm confident that with the 130,000, we will be in good shape.
And that's,
You just jinxed us.
and that's with suing,
Yeah,
and that's,
Selectman Livingston, I
and
just-
that's with suing the US Army for paying for our contaminating our water?
That is
So
not, that
so we're
is,
gonna have to double that.
that
now?
is
Yeah,
not
just,
with that, but as all
not
of
letting
you
that go.
know, every year I say this, the town council budget is a tough one because we never know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. But I think, and I appreciate the question because it's a legitimate concern, but I think 130,000, we will be good. Now, if I come back for a reserve fund transfer, don't kill the messenger.
No,
So
that's-
the,
well,
so the follow-up
put-
question I
put it
have
in the
then is, with
lawsuit with
reserve
the Army.
fund transfer at 150,000,
Yeah.
do we feel the need to build in any additional cushion into the reserve fund transfer if Mr. Hillman's looking to sue the Army?
yeah.
So-
I am.
So, just in full disclosure for everybody, to the extent what Selectman Hillman was referring to, and you're all aware of this, is the PFAS contamination to the Grove Pond well. Superintendent Wetzel, and we'll talk about this later at the warrant, has been extremely proactive, as have we, that we have a $4.1 million solution to this. However, there was a meeting last Wednesday with the Department of Defense, the EPA, the DEP, and Mark and I were both there. And he did not mince words in the sense that the expectation from the town of Ayer is that we are reimbursed and compensated for this investment. To Selectman Hillman's point, and this was at one of the open public meetings, the Board of Selectmen did authorize me to contact town council to look at, make sure all of our options are preserved. I think it would be still, and I appreciate that concern, I think this would be still fine for FY 2019 if the event that we have to move towards litigation to address that, we would cross that bridge at that time.
Well, with the way litigation works, even if we did do something,
Yeah.
you're probably looking at the following budget cycle.
Yeah,
Yeah, by the time we
yeah.
actually get into full-fledged, legal fees and stuff like that.
I just want to remind you that there's still $45,000. So if you need, that hasn't been dedicated to anything yet. So if you feel you need to raise one of the appropriations or two of them, whatever, just keep that in mind.
Okay.
I believe we will be good at 130 based on everything we know today.
Today.
Can we put a poll together to see
We should.
whether we go,
because,
how far over everyone thinks we're going to be? Or under? Could be under.
Could be.
Could be.
All right. Department 200, accountant, payroll and benefits, computer support, assessors, treasurer, tax collector, health and life insurance, property and liability insurance, workers' comp, police/fire accidental, and unemployment compensation, retirement, debt principal, debt interest, tax title, FICA Medicare, finance committee, the reserve fund.
Can I just say that, as long as you can get approval, you might want a little presentation on insurance costs, because that question always gets answered.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're going to want a presentation, but, make sure you get approval.
Yes.
I just want to point
You
out,
alluding something?
my entire time here, the finance committee budget has never increased.
It has not,
It
Mr.
has
Chairman.
never increased.
Anything else on Department 200?
Just saying.
Congratulations.
Department 300, Police Department. Shirley Dispatch, which I believe on the omnibus it says Regional Dispatch, but the Shirley Dispatch, Fire Department, Building Inspector, Emergency Management, Animal Control, Animal Inspector, Tree Warden. Public Department.
Can we circle back on tree warden real quick? My
Yeah.
apologies. I know the tree warden budget went up significantly over the last year. Is that money actually all being spent this year? Is it on track to?
Hence the reason he's now appointed. I think there's going to be more
it-
accountability. I'm not saying anything's wrong. I'm just saying that
All
we'll
right.
have
Well, I know
more
part of the
access to it.
feedback from the times that he's come to the finance committee, once for a reserve fund transfer, and then to discuss the FY17 budget, was looking to money to replant trees.
Correct.
So I'm just, I guess my
He's
question.
spending it.
Yeah,
He
so-
is, okay,
Yeah.
all right, I just want to make sure.
And we
that's
appreciate
viable.
from the FinCom and the BOS that.
And even though it's handwritten, he pretty much keeps notes on everything that he does do. So
All right, thank you.
Department 400, Public Works, snow and ice removal, street lighting, care of graves. Anything on 400, okay. Department 500, Council on Aging, Board of Health, the Neshoba Boards of Health, Parks, Pop Warner, Little League,
Pass on those two just for a quick question.
on Pop Warner, Little League,
Yeah.
okay? Veterans Agent, Veterans Benefits, the Library, Disabilities Commission. So,
So the question for those two is the question every year. Have
Yes.
we heard from those two organizations requesting their money for the budget? It's been 4,000 since I've been here. I started, and it's never moved, but I know over conversations we've had, I know we're paying it out, but I don't think we've ever received any
The Little League
feedback.
doesn't require nudging. They turn in their expenses for reimbursement up to the $4,000. Football, on the other hand, is more challenging. A lot of times I have to encumber the money because they still haven't asked for it at the end of June, even though football's a fall school.
Okay.
So, question, do they really need it? Sometimes
Well,
you
yeah, and
wonder.
that's kind of the follow-up is, you
Yeah, do
know,
they need it in the communication, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, there's very little.
exactly. Okay, thank you.
So how about no communication, no money?
Well, I was just gonna say, if you
It's
give them,
simple.
if you kind of hint that, it might go away, I bet you start hearing from them.
Yeah,
That might
just-
be a problem with the graves, though.
That's a good one, Gary.
Okay, that's Department 500. Department 600, Conservation, Economic and Community Development, Town Planner, Historic Commission, the MRPC Assessment, Management Support, Information Technology.
Everybody good with those?
So the budget includes a 2% COLA, has
It assumes one, yeah.
assumes one. Board of Selectmen, Chris, have you and the board taken a position on that at all? An official position, I guess.
Yeah, I think we endorsed the 2%, didn't we?
You think so?
No, we were gonna discuss
No?
the 2%.
Oh, we only
I'm
talked-
thinking of the contract, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That was the addendum you said on the.
Yeah, sorry.
Right, the board has the same amendment, the same memo I sent to the FinCom.
Okay. So no, we have not taken official on that.
Okay, do we want to discuss?
Absolutely.
All right. So Finance Committee, we talked and we seem, so it's double-edged sword. The 2% is kind of what the average seems to be, but then also, my frustration on that front is, when you have steps plus a COLA, you have employees getting 4 to 4.5% increases year over year, which easily outpaces what some of the people who are paying the taxes are actually getting back from their jobs in the private sector. But I understand it's a process, it's kind of the way things are done in the public sector, whether we like it or not. So that's my.
We don't like it. I mean, it's taken me a long time being a small business owner to accept guaranteed pay raise, but
We don't have that issue with, like town clerk contract. I mean, those are all union. Right?
There's COLA reopeners
Those
in most
are-
of the contracts though, aren't there?
Mhm.
So if we give it.
They're all
2%.
unions, right?
Well,
The majority of the 2% increases with the steps.
But they're getting the COLA also?
Yeah, so just.
So they're getting a wage
So here's-
increase from the contract, and then they're
Right,
getting a
so-
COLA, so they do get a
everybody's
4%.
getting.
Right, so,
Yeah.
and so everybody understands that the current compensation plan is 2.25%. This is non-union folks, 2.25% between steps.
Right.
All right, so if I'm a grade, and there are 11 steps on the grid, okay? Once you get 11, then you're stepped out. So if I'm a step 8 now, on July 1st, if I'm a step 9, that step is 2.25%. And then as what Scott was saying, whatever the COLA is, the cost of living adjustment, so if the COLA is 2%, then the increase for that position is actually 4.25%. If the COLA was 1%, it'd be, you could do the math. I think, to what Mr. Diamond mentioned earlier, just real quick, I think moving forward in FY19, I would be interested in thoughts and ideas as to how we address the COLA procedurally and as a process. In other words, the Board of Selectmen ultimately vote that recommendation to town meeting, but I think we could approach it, I think, in a different way. How it was approached, and it's just my memo, for example, and that I put forth. If you look at the labor statistics, it's about 1.9% in February.
Right.
If you look at it, this is not official, but the towns that we did have data on from the MMA ranged from about 1 to 3.5, a couple of the folks near Boston. The average was 2%. And then the third is the collective bargaining agreements have the 2% wage increase. There are two issues. One is what is the COLA? And the second issue is does the COLA apply to Article 2, which is the elected salaries? I think it's always, those have always been the two questions we've had, is what is the COLA, and does the COLA apply to the elected officials folks? So, again, that amendment I put forth, the memo I put forth, based on that information, 2% was in the ballpark. But again, and I said this to Mr. Hood at the FinCom meeting, I'm well aware that there are folks, taxpayers, that are on fixed incomes. The Social Security cost of living isn't even close to 2%, and I don't say that lightly. So,
Well, the COLA 2% is really,
she had,
So it's a little more formal than Board of Selectmen. Sometimes.
So, when was the last time we didn't give a COLA?
the last,
I think it was right before I came on.
yeah,
4,000.
No,
So-
it was, 10 or 12, I think.
12.
12.
Was it 12?
12.
So-
Yeah.
We have been giving the 2% COLA for the last, 6 years? So just playing devil's advocate, what if we didn't? What if we didn't have a 2% COLA?
all right, so, a couple things. Yeah, 2012, we had no COLA because we had negative free cash. So,
And actually, all the employees did, union employees included, did not take a raise that year in order to avoid layoffs. and
So-
balance
Right.
budget.
So, playing devil's advocate, so, for example, if you're a stepped out employee, you're stepped out.
How many years does it take to get stepped out, Rob?
It depends. I mean, let's just say if you were hired at a step 1, it would take 10 years, okay? Some folks are hired or reclassed at different, but if you're at top step, you're at top step and you just get, if you will, whatever the COLA is. So if there is no COLA, they get no increase, meaning the folks that are stepped out.
So devil's advocate,
Yeah.
there would be the potential of 1 year of nobody getting a pay raise, which is realistic in the real world.
You would get a pay raise.
You know, because they'd be stepped, well, not if they're stepped out, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
Here's an example.
If I may, just real quick, so my understanding also is that the clerical union doesn't have steps in their contract, do they? So
No,
therefore, the clerical union
We're
would.
hoping to get it.
you were hoping to, but, so here's an
A few
example.
years ago, there was 2 employees in town that did not get a COLA. I
Right.
believe, Right? Maybe 4 years ago.
And I think Janet happened to be one of them that year, yeah.
My argument was just being fair. All the union employees get a COLA and get steps, except for clerical. DPW just started 2 years ago, a year ago, they started with steps. So they all get steps and a COLA. How many employees in town beside them are in the same situation? 10, 5?
It's ridiculous.
6?
Performance-based.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it should be.
Really scrambling to get attention. She's like having a
let me
connection.
I have
just-
trouble
let me
concentrating
just
with
add
2
some-
beside me, never mind 8, so just throw something.
Okay, so let me just give you some additional information, just, I don't know if you have it. So there are 20 people that are eligible for non-union right now, personnel.
Is that many?
Yes.
Okay.
4 of them are including myself, are stepped out and have been stepped out for some time. The assessor is stepped out. Bob, before his recent negotiations, was stepped out. The police chief had been stepped out before his negotiations. Collie was stepped out, and the lieutenant was stepped out. So there's 8 of the 20 were stepped out already, and in some cases did not receive raises at certain years because they were stepped out. The total amount of the cost, in case you're curious about that, because there's a lot of discussion going on right now, is $33,000 for those people. It's to $294 for the elected officials, all of them. And it's $2,951 for other types of people, such as fire call workers, which the chief put in a 2% for, the tree warden, the veterans agent, the parks lifeguards, and the parks seasonal employees. So there's more than just non-union, ones that are in the grid. There's other people who are affected by this as well. The total increase would be $36,000, and it's already built into the budget. Just in terms of volume, in terms of dollars.
$1 million budget is not, it's more the, I hate to say it this way, it's more the political nature of it, because it comes down, when you look at it by percentages, it comes down to a 4.5% increase for many of the employees. I mean, personally, I agree with Robert. We need to kind of get our hands around how we want to approach this in an objective manner. Last time that the Personnel Board actually met and made a recommendation, I was part of that, and we did what the percentage was with the same information that Robert had found and presented to these two committees or bodies, and we just voted that as the COLA, which I think at the time was 1.7 or 1.8%, and I think we rounded up to 2. So I don't want to belittle the point. I said, I mean, for $36,000 on a $28 million budget, it's not a huge amount of money, but it is kind of the perception of it for some of the employees. In regards to elected officials, I still don't know why the elected officials get 2%, because it's such a minuscule amount. I think that, personally, I think the elected officials should just be reviewed every 3 years, and we just set a new amount every 3 years.
See,
Did it cut in half
see,
3 years ago
that's-
count? That was the last time we were here.
But that's
How about
something,
that, yeah.
That's 6 years ago.
along Mr. Diamond's point earlier, that's what I'm getting at for
Mhm.
FY19. If we put together a group, whoever that is, to look at, I mean, we've traditionally used the Federal Reserve, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the comp towns, just what was in my memo. But there may be some other variables.
Everybody's disputing the 2%. I think that this.
Right, but I think the process,
COLA, and what Scott's saying is the 4%.
and I think as Scott mentioned too, part of that could be, maybe if it's part of the financial policies, I'm just saying, or some policy on the elected officials piece, that there's a review period or so forth. I mean, there were years that the COLA did apply to the elected officials, there was years it didn't, and as Selectman Hillman mentions, in 2013, the elected, at least the Board of Assessors and the Board of Selectmen stipends were cut, reduced, so,
Right, and we gave ourselves a 2% last year.
yeah.
The elected officials gave themselves a 2% last
So
year.
we got an extra $12 this year.
You know, which, I mean, it is a negligible amount, but do we want to give the elected officials another 2%? Which is, actually, there's just a few elected officials left now.
It's the
So I'll ask the Finance Committee for their feedback on whether or not they would support a 3% COLA.
I'm in strong favor of it, the 2% COLA. As the memo that Robert sent around, it did the comps. Going back to what Robert said, it's the quality of the employees that it gets. I don't think the 2% is unreasonable, seeing that, like I said, with the comps and being stepped out, if you're on that plateau of the 2% certainly would fit in. So I'm in favor of it, and just, once again, getting back to what Robert said at the beginning, it's the quality of the employees that you have, and we have some damn good employees in this town.
And that's improved too. I mean, I'm not saying that, I mean, all departments, I mean, the department heads have always been great, but I mean, they've done a good job of weeding out and recruiting good people.
You're getting quality people here, and it's
And-
taken a while, and you want to retain the quality of the staff that the town of
And
Ayer now
and the
has.
hard part about municipality is everything's public. You could work for Hilco and work for another HVAC company. Well, they don't know. They can't just go on the website and find out, when you're
Right.
looking for a position somewhere. So, I mean, it's hard when, if you're not the only one, you're not the only one doing it. So you got to look at it that way. I mean, I look at it as a business person too, but I've come along a little bit in the last few years to understand it more.
Generally speaking, I support the use of a COLA and the fact that cost of living does increase year over year. I think that I'm more concerned with the general ability of everyone here to remain unbiased when we're talking about grade increases, most importantly, but then the fact that there are so many people stepped out and what that means. And I barely know half the people in this room, and it's hard for me to tell someone to their face that they shouldn't get a raise or whatever. So it's got to be even harder for those of you that have kids going to the same schools and you've worked together for 10 years. So I think that a personnel board obviously does not exist at this moment, but it clearly has a use, and I don't know how or when it'd be possible to do so, but I think it's important that we try to re-attack how to be unbiased in discussing people's salaries in a general sense, because it's really hard.
30 seconds or less.
COLA is a political statistical normalization. And it's been accepted politically, because it is political, as a nationwide event. It has been over the last 40 years. It's been accepted as a statistical normalization, and people expect it. I think it would be, as to Chris's point, we've got great employees, and for the amount of money that Ms. Cabri has shared with us that this is costing, I think we have other things that are bigger issues to worry about, and I think we just let this go on, and we give the employees that deserve it what they deserve as best we can.
So you have, by consent, you have support of the finance committee for a 2% COLA. If you guys want to move that. Need a formal vote from the Board of Selectmen for that?
That would be appreciated.
We there yet?
I'll ask you
For the
to.
budget, right?
Yeah.
So
How do you
this is
feel
the
about
last piece.
Oh, I approve of 2%. Like I said before, I mean, you have all the union employees get it. Why shouldn't the rest of us get it in all fairness? And then you get to a point where, you know, if you're saying no to department heads, or say like the lieutenant, no, by the time, then you get the sergeant that comes up to 2% below it, which is crazy. So I am in favor of it.
And we approached it in 2012 and we had no money.
Yeah.
And I think everybody handled it.
Right,
appropriately
exactly.
because it was either
Everybody
we
stepped
wanted
up.
college to not be here, or
Right.
can we get through it? And we did. So, I mean, just like as I give my employees a raise every year. I mean, just because it keeps employees, I mean, honestly, it keeps employees engaged too. You start nickel and diamond on 2% cost increases, you watch about the quality of employee and their attitude. So it's hard to say we have all this free cash and we're not going to give raises. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You're looking right at me. You can talk.
Just like waiting my turn here. Well, based on that, then I would like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen set the COLA rate for FY 2019 at 2%.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Not to belabor the point to the board, does that apply to the
Well, that would be a second question.
elected? And just so everybody, when I say elected, the positions are moderator, the 3 selectmen, and the 3 assessors. And actually, it's Article 2 in the
It's up
warrant.
to you guys. It's about $72 combined, so.
It is, it's not a lot.
I'd say yes, keep the status quo and okay it for the elected officials too. The moderator needs it.
And just so as everybody's aware, Article 2 is required by statute. Town meeting sets those salaries, so town meeting can reduce those numbers. But the question is, going into town meeting, what do you want it to reflect?
The argument that I say everybody should and everybody should. So that's my reason behind it.
I have no problem with it going to the people and letting them decide.
Yeah, I can live or die with the $12.
Yeah, so, I mean, it might put me into another tax bracket, my federal taxes. Oh, wait a minute, those went down a little bit, I get a little more in my paycheck, but then I got gas prices going up, so yeah, I've leveled out.
Well, listen, I want a fixed income now, so yeah, I take the $12.
So, So then,
I think all elected officials, including FinCom, should receive, but that's a different
FinCom's not elected.
No, well, they're not, but a board, serving board, but
We
anyway.
don't
voted
get paid.
ourselves a 50% increase.
Yeah,
Still
but
comes to
anyway.
zero.
Okay.
So let's keep that, we don't have to vote on that, right? You want to vote on that? We just said 2%. Do you want us to vote on elected
No,
officials?
I just wanted clarification. so
Yeah, if
we'll
town
keep
meeting
it.
decides they want to take away the $72, they can have it.
Okay, so you have the warrant in front of you, and what we'll do is just real quick version. We need a special town meeting first, so that's the first. There's a one article, and this is for the $4,000 for the teenage anxiety and depression solutions.
Robert, I thought that was going to be covered in the host agreement.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't it?
Not this time, maybe next.
Okay, that was,
So-
okay.
This was
think I'm thinking
supposed
of
to
the
be,
youth works, so
this was
maybe that's-
supposed to be part of the school budget.
That's right.
It didn't get
You're
in
right.
there. Moving forward, it's part
We
of
missed
our
it.
budget, so it won't be missed, but it's been missed. So the purpose of the special is with the approval that we can pay that bill.
And next year it's in the.
And next year, it's in the budget.
Well, it's
So,
supposed to be in the budget.
so that's pretty straightforward. Then we move to the.
That's a great program, it's a no-brainer, right?
Yep, to the annual town meeting. Article 1 is the town elections. Just remind everybody to vote Monday, April 23rd here at Town Hall. Article 2 we just talked about, which is the salaries of elected officials that are ultimately set by town meeting, which can reduce those numbers. Article 3 is the contract funding for the Police Patrolmen's Association. This is for the first year costs, which are $48,373.
Just a point of
Yeah.
clarification, are these for Article 3 and 4 included in the omnibus budget?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
just wanted to
Yep.
clarify, thank you.
Yep. And I will be prepared for 3 and 4. Article 4 is the dispatchers, the communications, which is $8,719. On Article 3 and Article 4, we will have prepared a slide which will provide more information if requested, and you'll see in both explanatory notes on the website, both of these memorandum of agreements will be on the website for the public as well. Article 5 is the omnibus budget, which we just reviewed, and the board has voted the COLA to apply to it. Other thoughts on the budget, or we'll keep going at this time?
Finance Committee, any other
going,
concerns?
yeah,
I
just
think
keep
we're
on
in
going.
agreement with what's
Okay.
presented right now. Thank you.
Article 6 is the regional school, Ayer Shirley Regional School assessment. Article 7 is the Neshoba Valley Technical School. Articles 8,
That should be 19.
oh, good
See
catch.
that?
Yeah, good catch, yeah. Articles 8 through 11 are enterprise fund articles, and Ms. Gabri always prepares handouts for the voters on those four. I don't know if there are any questions.
I have a question on the solid waste.
Yep.
Because this one, so there's about $232,000 that's actually coming from the tax levy, correct? The 117 and the 115?
One, yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
yes.
Thanks.
And let's strike out, see where it says to report at town meeting on that article. It's
Yeah.
left over from last. We'll just take, okay. Article 12, and this was just brought up, I'm going to check on, the revolving funds, you only need the article, because we adopted them last time, you only need an article when the limits change, and the only limit changing is the fire alarm fund is going from $35,000 to $75,000. So Selectman Livingston mentioned earlier tonight, when council sent this, they sent all of the funds. I think it might confuse folks, so if we can, we'll probably just strike that the only change is to that one revolving fund. All the others are in effect by last town meeting.
he brought it.
Then Article 13 is the capital, the borrow article, the capital budget requests. These are all of the capital items with the grand total. Our respective departments will have the slides and the materials to answer any questions folks have, but if there are any questions tonight, and that requires a 2/3 vote. And this was what was recommended by the Capital Planning Committee, and the Board of Selectmen, which will indicate it did vote to approve the capital back on April 3rd. Article 14 is a borrow authorization article for the Grove Pond Water Treatment Plant improvements for the removal of the PFAS. And what you have is a 2/3 approval article seeking for the authorization for the town to borrow up to $4,170,000. This is to construct the permanent solution to remove the PFAS from the Grove Well Pond Complex. I just want to mention, and I know everybody knows this, but Superintendent Wetzel has done an excellent job being proactive on this issue, and he worked very closely with our consultant, CDM Smith, also Ms. Gabri's help on the financial end for this number. This is a borrow up to that amount. And to Selectman Hillman's point earlier, this is the $4.1 million question that we want the U.S. Army to compensate us,
No, they're gonna compensate us for all Mark's time.
reimburse us.
All the time that's been invested.
This will be an article I anticipate in terms of the presentations
A lot of time.
that Superintendent Wetzel will be prepared to make a presentation. I think there'll be a lot of questions on this. The explanatory note could be as long as the Old Testament, so this was a true challenge. That superintendent also did a great job writing that to explain the substantive piece.
Maybe we should ask Alan to do it.
Wasn't that at a higher price, Robert? He got it down.
Yes, we went,
Started out at 5 million. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's done a hell of a job.
Hats off to you.
Don't ask me to pronounce any of those names.
yeah.
Okay.
So, again, I think it speaks for itself, but if there are any questions. Then Article 15, the transfer article, these are the capital budget requests that are going to be funded through transfer. Again,
Yeah, we could say it was a 30, I think it was 30,000, if I said 35.
Yep.
you have them listed in the total. We'll also be prepared to answer any questions, and that's a 2/3. Article 16 is the UDAG replenishment for the radio infrastructure, it's 200,000. Article 17 is the OPEB, as recommended by the OPEB Board of Trustees. You see here that 128,000 is coming from the meals tax, 172,000 from free cash, for a total of 300,000 to fund the OPEB. Article 18 is the Conservation Fund. This was set up by a town meeting this past fall, putting $500,000 in it from community preservation funds. And one of the discussions that was had is that when the town could continue to make contributions to this to move forward. So there is, this article would be for $5,000. This fund is strictly for the purposes of acquiring open space and or conservation land in the town. Then Article 19, you get into the raise and appropriate. You have the first year's interest on the general fund borrowing at $55,671. Article 20 is the funding for aquatic weed control for $40,000.
Yep. So this comes up like every year, okay? Is it possible to just make this a line item?
The problem is you can't roll funds over unless you have a PO where the services have already been rendered by June 30th. And they can't always do the treatment in the spring, so they don't always spend the money. So if they want to roll the money over, which is what they want to do, you have to keep it as an article.
Okay.
We could just have it as a recurring article, that's not a problem.
And the other point which Lisa has brought up to the finance group, so we asked the same question, is also if it goes in the omnibus budget, it's bottom line budget and they could spend it on other things.
Article 21 is for $10,000 for startup funding for the Adopt an Island program. This specifically working with Mass DOT at the Charlton Circle Rotary. We've previously attempted to do this program with, how should I put it, through the private sector, didn't work. So we're looking to make it a town program. So those would be the startup costs for that. Article 22 was requested by the Cultural Council. They are asking for $4,600 to supplement the money they received from Mass Cultural Council. that set amount they receive, we did this last year as well, is not enough to cover all of the Ayer programs. So they are looking, this would be to supplement so they could cover more Ayer programs. Article 23 is from the fire chief, the fire equipment grant match. This is for the grant that we're applying for. We have to have the local match, $1,158. And then Article 24 is the stabilization fund, which, as we mentioned here, seeks to put $697,562, with $97,562 of that going to stabilization and $600,000 to capital. As everybody's aware, that why we're recommending that is that we have reached our DOR benchmark on stabilization, but capital we have to catch up on. So that was the thought there. That number may change at town meeting depending on actions that take place above.
Sorry, quick question. Do we know what the stabilization is now? Total capital and the other?
The balance in the regular stabilization account as of 11/30, I guess the interest was posted last, $2,358,000. And the capital stabilization account, $1,428,000. But it makes sense to build up the capital stabilization account, what with the, high school fields and elementary school issues and everything else.
Then we have the community preservation articles as submitted from the Community Preservation Committee. The first one is the Preservation Act article that we have every year. The second one is the transfer of funds in the amount of $12,000 for open space purposes. Then Article 27 is the transfer of funds to the historical resource category in the amount of $108,000. And the reason for this article is there is a project, which is Article 28, and when they looked at it, there was not the funds in the historic category. So Article 27 is to transfer those funds from the undesignated balance into historic.
And then pull them out of this program.
And then Article 28 is for the Sandy Pond School Association, a priority structural project. And as I think many are aware, this project seeks to stabilize the building through all the improvements.
Not adding on to the page hilltop?
No, not adding on.
Fix the foundation.
It needs it.
Chris, is it officially recognized as a national?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yep, on the register and all that.
Because I know Irving was supposed to come a while back, and then
Yes.
the schedule's good. Well, that's good. Congratulations.
So there's still some more money after that to be at 100%, but that's going to give a good chunk of what it's needed.
Yeah.
Good.
Then we get into the other business articles. Article 29 is a grant of easement at Depot Square. With the construction of the project, there is a need for an easement to Worthingdale for truck access. Yep.
So if you're allowed to do a presentation, could you do like a quick presentation that basically lets people know, and I'm just using general numbers, so don't anybody quote me, that we're giving up like 8 inches of space
Oh, yeah.
so that a truck can curve.
Yes. Yes, and we'll have,
So just a
I said
simple,
no.
maybe a live action presentation would be nice, just to quickly.
okay,
But if you get approval.
okay. There's no financial component to the grant of the easement there. Article 30 is,
And that, we're gonna restrict that to the only part that they need, right? They're not getting an easement
Correct.
for the entire property, correct?
No, correct.
That's worded correctly?
It's-
Okay.
Say presentation,
Yeah.
to be able to show.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanna make
Yeah.
sure it was worded correctly, so we're not doing that.
yeah, it's just access easement. We retain everything.
Right.
Okay.
Article 30 is the resolution of the rail trail lot parcels. Again, in a nutshell, when the rail trail lot was transferred from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to the town of Ayer, which only took 4 years.
This is why Carly got a raise.
But when the state, if I can do it, so just so everyone knows real quick, because it'll help me at town meeting, especially if we could do the presentation, but when the state took the land, they built the rail trail through the back of 3 people's yards, 3 private property lots. Now, it's been that way since the early 90s.
It's like 4 inches or something.
Yeah, it will have a diagram for this if we can use it. when the state, so the state now has transferred it to the town of Ayer. We need this article so that that piece that they should have taken can be resolved by the town and the three property owners. So this article authorizes the Board of Selectmen to resolve that issue. If the resolution of that issue requires any money, which we don't believe it will, of course, that would have to come to a future, town meeting. And you also see in the article that nasty phrase, because it's a legal article, of eminent domain. We're pretty sure this can be resolved without doing that. And eminent domain, just so everybody knows, requires approval from town meeting. So if that was the last resort, we would deal with this at another time. So it's sort of a housekeeping item. It's unfortunate because the Commonwealth did it and they refused to fix it, but we want to do the right thing and fix it. So that's Article 30.
Is there any financial impact on this article itself?
No,
Doesn't sound like
no, there is none. Yeah, both 29 and 30, there's no financial.
So I would strike Finance Committee from that warrant.
Okay.
I don't think we need to give a recommendation on that.
Right. Article 31 is the Natural River Wild and Scenic designation. This is coming before 9 towns that border the river. The 2 in New Hampshire have already approved it. It's a designation to the Nashua River, the main stem of the Nashua, the Squannacook, and the Nissitissit. The key thing in the explanatory note, the designation does not change local control of the rivers, it doesn't change private property rights, and it doesn't have any cost impact to the town. If they get this designation, the Nashua River watershed and the towns will be able to apply for more federal grants through the National Park Service.
Well, then in that case, the finance committee should be struck from that as well,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
30.
Right.
Who's done?
Yep. Article 32 is the local sales tax for the sale of retail marijuana products. If passed, this would apply a 3% tax on all retail marijuana sales. I know I went to the Finance Committee, voted to recommend it on the 28th of March. And we'll be looking at, yeah.
Well, it's not so much a question, just so you know, so Robert and I had gone over some of the explanatory notes, and I had recommended that that explanatory note be expanded a little bit to remind people that the town approved the retail at the fall STM of 2017, and that 3% is the max by statute. So he's going to update the explanatory note. And also, could you make sure that the words explanatory note are bolded for the warrant?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yep.
Because if nothing else, if somebody tries to say, I didn't know, we can say, you read the warrant, right? So, because there's gonna be people that'll be like, well, I don't approve of it, and it's like, well, I'm sorry, that's already passed. You should have shown up at fall, so, just so you know, that explanatory note will be updated a little bit.
Yep. Okay, Article 33 is a home rule petition for one additional all-alcohol license, specifically for the vineyard located at 63 Park Street.
Yes.
Okay. And then lastly, is that there is one citizen's petition, and I know everyone is aware that citizens' petitions have to be printed exactly as how they are submitted. And it is to make the transfer station closing time 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 p.m., or 1,500 hours. And as the note says, citizens' petitions are advisory, but that will be on the warrant for discussion.
I just want to say I probably hear from 10 people every time it's shifts to the summer hours that they're just perturbed that it closes so early.
And we know of 6, we know of 6. Yeah.
And also, this would not enact that. This is a contractual situation.
Right, just
So this-
advisory.
yeah.
Which ironically, town members helped guide that original change.
Yeah, we're not gonna-
So,
So there was a pass on Article 33.
Through the chair, just, Robert, we had this on here last year.
Yeah.
What's 2 years ago, but last year we rejected it.
No.
We can go
2
last
years
year.
ago.
Guys, I wasn't there, but you guys didn't vote for it.
It wasn't on the warrant last year?
No, it was 2
No.
years
The year
ago.
before.
Last year.
2 years ago
Last
was
year
on the
he came
warrant.
before, I wasn't present, you two.
So that's all right.
Yeah, because it's not a zoning article.
Yeah.
So it can come up every year?
Really? Well, that was somewhat of the agreement that we made.
So the difference with this,
You made.
I made. yeah. Told
The
him
difference
it's not
with
gonna
this
happen again.
article-
It doesn't pass.
the difference from last time
Yeah.
is it is specific for the vineyard. The last one was to whether the legislature would increase it to 1 all alcohol. This
And then it was
is,
amended.
remember it was,
Can someone possibly delete the vineyard and 63 and add 3 more?
I mean, the
I
town.
don't think so, because we think we covered that by specifically stating this is for the vineyard, in the vineyard, in even the explanatory notes say, this is for the vineyard.
Town council would advise the moderator, I want to stress advise, that an amendment for this would be out of order because the spirit, the intent of the warrant article was for that specific address. And if you watch the BOS meeting,
Right.
that was hammered time and time again. So, but whether the moderator would entertain an amendment or not, the intent, I think, of the Board of Selectmen in the warrant was, look, is an up and down vote on the vineyard, because he keeps, requesting this. And then, even if town meeting passes it, it's still subject to the state. So,
And the state could say no. And then that would really end the conversation if, in the future. Because if the state says no, then really no one can come back to us next year, because we're gonna say the state has already said no.
This puts me in an odd position because I've always agreed with the majority on the board. And I can't agree with this because we're already over the limit. So I may have to speak on this town meeting.
So actually, Gary, I said to him, I don't agree with it, but you have the right to bring it to town meeting.
Yeah.
I said, I may speak about it, but I said, if we do put it to the warrant, I want your agreement now that you're never coming back again next year, 'cause I'm sick of seeing you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll apologize ahead of time.
No,
Well, I mean, the bottom line is
Unless
that,
Scott's here, then he
You
can
know.
say what he wants.
But I don't disagree with you.
I mean, the bottom line, I guess, is that, customers, we do know customers have been asking for it, so this is it. This is kind of like,
My wife's shop's there.
right, this is kind of like, when we finally took care of the rail trail.
Yeah, but this is
We
like the story
basically
that
told
never ends.
well, that's what we'll have
It's
to
ending.
basically
It's on
tell
tape.
he
them
said it's, Selectman
at
Hillman
town
said it's
meeting
ending.
it's yes or
That was the
no,
agreement.
end of conversation. Yes or no, which is kind of what we've had to do before. This is your blank or get off the blank.
So when they come open again, after they get their license and then say they go out of business or whatever, or want to transfer it, this board's going to say, no, you can't because we're over a limit, right?
Transfer it to who?
Somebody else.
Well, that's a whole different discussion.
Okay.
That's a whole different discussion.
All right, I'm done.
Because we,
Gary's
the board,
defense, that
actually, we
happened.
have
We
the
were
say.
burned on that in
We would
2012.
have the say
What
as
up?
to win somebody else. We would have the say, and it was even discussed at the last meeting, that even if he decided to move the location of his business, which he already states he's got well more than enough room to expand at its current place, that we, the board, whoever's sitting on the board, has the right to say yea or nay.
Well, of course
So
we do.
yeah, but no, I'm saying it out loud again to answer your question.
No, that's not answering my question.
You did, you said if he went out of business and wanted to transfer the alcohol license,
But get- when-
we, the board,
What
have
I'm
to
saying,
say.
if
what
he
I'm
went out, the
saying,
license
then
is
will be
still-
2 over a limit.
But if the ABCC doesn't care,
That has nothing to do with it. We're allowed 2 liquor licenses. 3 at one time because we had people that lived in town that were at Devon's, that were in the Army. So it was 3. When it got reduced to 2, and this is based on population, one should have been, that last one, that Collins didn't own it, but they did, and sold it to Mr.
Patel.
That was the one we.
Patel.
Yeah, in 2012.
We should have withheld that. We should never have let it gone through,
I agree.
because we're over the limit.
but the state has allowed it also. And the nice thing about this is that even if town meeting says The state has to say yes. And if the state says yes, then they have legally changed our
It's any
limit.
home rule petition goes in front of the legislature anyway. So that's a
Well,
given.
they don't all get
No, I
approved.
think this has to go before the ABC.
And the ABC, and they're changing the way they're gonna be doing things.
ABC doesn't.
They won't weigh in at the legislative. I can basically guarantee that a home rule petition will get rubber stamped at the state. house.
Yeah, I agree.
So the ABCC doesn't weigh in unless they're told, hey, you have to issue another license to this town. Is how that process
I'll make sure I
works.
call them.
But there's a lot of cities and towns that are well over their quota.
Exactly.
By.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Right.
usually
Hey,
with
who asked you?
3 less.
Well, I think I've been seeing, I've actually seen an article where the ABCC is even going to change the way they're doing things so that there won't necessarily be the beer and wine license with an all alcohol
You
license.
said that at the last meeting, Representative Benson was going like this in the back.
Well, you know,
She's on the
I
committee,
bring,
so-
well, I bring it up. I bring
No,
it up
you weren't.
because it
Jeff
is
was
being
saying it.
discussed.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it is being discussed. And, well, actually, I saw something in the news about it too.
I would say if you don't like it, vote against it,
Exactly.
which I may very well do, but it's
So
going to
that's,
town meeting.
that's the whole ball of wax. So
Still not coming back.
going back to the special town meeting, on the TADS article, maybe we should go through it. Does the FinCom want to take votes or?
Please. So on the special town meeting for Article 1, do I have a motion for finance recommendation on Article 1 in the special town meeting?
I recommend that for Article 1, we approve it as it's written.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. For the annual town meeting, do I have a motion to recommend all warrant articles with the exception of Article 1, 29, 30, 31, and 33, which are the non-financial articles?
I make a motion to accept all articles as stated by the chair with the exceptions of the one noted by the chair.
Is that
Second.
a friendly amendment to recommend
I recommend.
the articles?
I second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I think I'd rather we take more time on the omnibus budget and report at town meeting if I have my preference there. I think that there were some concerns with the omnibus budget that got brought up, and so for us to, I don't know, give us an extra place to discuss at that time would be beneficial, but
Are you against the omnibus budget as is presented?
I'm not 100% sure at the moment, which is part of my reasoning, but
Okay.
You can still speak on that,
All
though,
right.
right? I mean,
yeah.
Okay, can I,
But if
So
you guys
I-
want
I-
to vote in favor, then that's fine too.
I have a
Well,
motion, I have a
against you.
second.
Right.
We have to take.
You can take the vote.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Fair enough. Aye.
3 to 1. Sorry, Greg.
I'm okay with it.
All right.
He likes being the odd man out.
So 3 to 1, okay.
3 to 1.
On there, okay.
Are we, Gary?
Make a motion to approve all articles on the warrant, including the number 1 before the second number 1. By the Board of
What?
Selectmen recommended. You know what I mean?
Special.
You mean the special town
Yes,
meeting warrant
yes.
and the annual town
Yeah.
meeting warrant? Seconded.
If that's the way you want it said, I'll
Well,
second it.
it's, you know,
Okay.
All in favor? All in favor?
oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Aye. Motion passes. Board will support, endorse the articles in the warrant. We good?
Unless there's anything else, that's the budget and warrant. I want to thank all the selectmen, all the FinCom, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'll take a motion to adjourn Finance Committee at 8:41.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen did that.
I wish.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you this hosting this evening.
Yep.
Thank
Bye,
you,
guys.
guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Good conversation. We do this more often.
I do want to get.
Yeah, come visit.